Call it whatever you like, the Sicilian Mafia or la Cosa Nostra. Italians call it the Octopus, a brotherhood of criminals with tentacles into every corner of Italian life, threatening to kill anyone who gets in their way. Now they're going to have a little more trouble making good on that threat. The boss of bosses of the Sicilian underworld, Salvatore Riina, was arrested 2 days ago. During the 20 years he was in hiding, there was a reign of terror in which more than 50 people were murdered, including 2 government prosecutors. Until his arrest early Friday morning, a prominent Italian politician was #1 on his hit list, something Steve Croft thought about a lot while he was following him around.
His name is Leoluca Orlando, but they call him the Walking Corpse. He travels in armor-plated cars surrounded by 12 gun-toting bodyguards. The whereabouts of his wife and children is secret. Every picture of them has been destroyed for their own protection. Not even his bodyguards know his schedule or in which military barracks he plans to sleep that night.
You're not a prosecutor, you're not a judge, you're not an investigator. Why does the Mafia want to kill you?
Because I am against the politics who protect the Mafia. I will be killed by the Mafia, but not only by the Mafia.
What do you mean, not only by the Mafia?
By politicians who are afraid that my battle will get victory.
His battle is to expose those politicians who are in league with the Mafia, and today it's a very popular cause. In Italy's last parliamentary election, Orlando was the second largest vote-getter in the country. The battle is not a new one. It was started in the mid-1980s in this courtroom by a courageous prosecutor who cracked the Mafia's code of silence and for the first time jailed hundreds of its members, from small-time hoodlums to dons. The prosecutor was Judge Giovanni Falcone, a national hero, the first man to demonstrate that the Mafia was not invincible, that it could be defeated. But last spring, as Falcone was about to assume a powerful new job, the Mafia decided he had to be killed. Falcone was then, as Orlando is now, the most protected man in the country, and it required all the ingenuity the Mafia could muster. It was all meticulously planned. The assassins were here on the side of a mountain a half a mile above the coastal highway. They took 1,500 pounds of high explosives and packed it in a culvert about where that yellow truck is straight ahead. They even trimmed back part of this tree so that they would have an unobstructed view of the highway and the culvert. From here, with the help of spotters, they monitored the progress of Falcone's motorcade from the airport. It was traveling at more than 100 miles an hour. And when it reached the culvert, they detonated the bomb. Falcone's motorcade was blown apart along with a stretch of 4-lane highway. The bomb left a crater 40 feet deep. Falcone, his wife, and 5 bodyguards were all killed, sending Italy into shock and the state into crisis. Falcone knew the Mafia would eventually kill him. He even told his friend Liliana Ferraro how it might happen.
He used to say, when Mafia will decide to kill me, they must kill me in Sicily and in a very scenographic way. Something really...
Cinematographic?
Yes, cinematographic.
What you're saying is it had to be in a large explosion, it had to be in a very sophisticated, intricate plot to show how smart they were and how powerful they are.
Yes. So no one could think that enemy like John Falcone could be killed only by a cult.
2 months later, the sequel, another car bomb, another judge. This time, Falcone's colleague, Paolo Borsellino, the man who was expected to pick up the torch. It was a death foretold. Just hours before Borsellino was killed, police had informed him that the dynamite that would be used to kill him had arrived in Sicily. The blast killed 6 of his bodyguards and destroyed the better part of a city block. For Claudio Martelli, Italian Minister of Justice, in fact for most Italians, the message was clear.
And the message is, we can stop your very best people. We can kill them when we want to.
Yeah. We can kill, we can reach you everywhere at any moment, maybe not today, tomorrow, next year, maybe 10 years again.
And what are the consequences?
I think that they don't believe that the state, the parliament, the government, the magistrates and the police had the courage of such a reaction. I think that they have not calculated the consequences, not enough at least this time.
The consequence this time was outrage. At the funeral of Borsellino's bodyguards, the mourners, mostly policemen and their families, were openly contemptuous of the government. Cabinet ministers who came to pay their respects had to be protected from the angry crowd. Demonstrators took to the streets demanding action, and after years of paying only lip service, the Italian government was finally forced to do something about the Mafia, and it started in the heart of Palermo. For years, this was the home and business address of many of Italy's top Mafia leaders, Palermo's Ucciardoni prison. With telephones and the help of close associates on the outside, many of them continued to run their various criminal enterprises from inside their cells here. But on the night of the Borsellino murder, all of that changed. The Mafia leaders, many of them still dressed in pajamas, were unceremoniously hauled from their cells and taken away. They were deposited hours later in an island prison hundreds of miles away in the middle of the Mediterranean. They're still there, deprived of contact with their relatives and associates. Next, the government dispatched 7,000 army troops to Sicily to help local police round up suspected mafioso and to impose Italian authority on an island long controlled by the mob. This early morning raid in the town of Gela is one of dozens that have taken place across the Sicilian countryside, with hundreds of suspects taken into custody. The Justice Ministry has issued emergency decrees setting up witness protection programs and allowing for the first time the police to conduct undercover sting operations. A special anti-mafia task force has been set up and modeled after the FBI. Why has it taken so long for the Italian government to go after the Mafia? Well, according to people like Leoluca Orlando, it's because the Mafia has always been protected by friends in very high places.
How is possible to say that the Mafia is only a criminal organization without relations with the state when the Prime Minister has relations with the bosses of a Mafia?
The Italian Prime Minister Orlando is talking about is six-time Prime Minister Giulio Andreotti, who served until just last year.
You're saying that Giulio Andreotti was a Mafia protector?
Giulio Andreotti has protected a system of power, including even Mafia bosses.
When Orlando talks about high-level Mafia contacts in the Andreotti government, he's talking about this man, Salvo Lima, one of Andreotti's closest advisors and the head of his Christian Democratic Party in Sicily. According to recent court documents and the testimony of Mafia informers, Lima was the mob's emissary in Rome, its go-between with the Italian government. The man who made sure that Mafia votes were rewarded with public contracts and special favors. Yet not even Lima, with all of his power and connections, could give the Mafia what it wanted most. It wanted those mass convictions of the 1980s overturned. And when the final appeals were denied, Salvo Lima was murdered. Orlando says Lima's killing was a warning to politicians who promise more than they can deliver. Others, like Justice Minister Claudio Martelli, think Orlando has exaggerated the link between the Mafia and politics.
I believe that Orlando is a kind of demagogue. Anytime I hear someone who's explained that this is not Mafia, this other thing, this political affair, don't trust him. This is mafia, exactly mafia.
Nothing more.
Always, nothing more is enough.
Orlando's message may not have been popular with Italy's political establishment, some of whom denied the mafia even existed, but it did strike a chord with the people. Demonstrations against the mafia became a regular feature of Sicilian life. Once a month, women put out sheets to commemorate the deaths of Falcone and Borsellino. And the Catholic Church worked with children to cut off the next generation of mafia soldiers, persuading them to exchange toy guns for toy footballs. Wanted posters lined the streets to show the government's commitment to wiping out the mafia. The findings, Salvatore Riina, the man who was arrested 2 days ago, the mafia's boss of bosses, who looked like this 20 years ago before he went into hiding. Until 2 days ago, no one had the slightest idea where he was.
He has been a fugitive for 20 years.
Yep.
You suspect, or law enforcement suspects, that he still runs the Sicilian Mafia.
Yeah.
You have no idea where he is,
No.
what he looks like,
No.
what name he's using,
No.
whether he's got a passport.
No.
Such a wanted man on such a small island? It seems like at some point...
I don't think it's necessarily in such a small island. Maybe it's another island, or another continent.
Maybe he travels back and forth.
Why not?
He could be anywhere.
Anywhere.
A member of parliament, even.
I don't think so. I think that this part is not so clever. Huh? Don't you think so?
Wherever he was, the Italian police had no idea what he looked like after 20 years in hiding. So they asked the FBI in Washington to help them come up with a computer-generated image of what the boss of the Corleone family might look like today. As you can see from the picture taken 2 days ago, the computer came close, but no cigar. Almost, but not quite. What the computer didn't know was that Riina had had extensive cosmetic surgery during his years in hiding and masterminding all those murders. In fact, authorities now believe they know where Salvatore Riina was on May 23rd, on a Palermo mountainside overlooking the coastal highway when Giovanni Falcone was killed.
Do you think about the danger all the time?
I don't. It is not possible to live thinking every moment that you will die.
And if you get killed?
It's my risk, my danger. Do you think it is possible to change something in the history of humanity, not risking? If someone tries to change something, not risking, probably it means that he is not changing anything.
Will a new dawn now take over and replace Salvatore Riina as the boss of bosses of the Sicilian Mafia? Leoluca Orlando has no doubt about it. He still believes his life is in danger and still believes there are politicians in Italy who have a stake in protecting the underworld and an interest in eliminating him. Over the Christmas holidays, a mafia informant tipped the Italian police to a plot to kill Orlando with a car bomb.